Dear brothers, good morning, boys. All right, so something that we need to discuss, at least more at length. We have hinted at this or we have discussed this in other terms in the past, but I think it's time that we have a little bit of a deeper conversation about the fact that what you'll see in today's world, today's culture, especially with the polarity that exists inside of politics and business and what have you, is that men have this ability to look at other men, specifically those that they don't know, that they have never met, and they make harsh judgment based on something that they've read in the New York Times, the New York Post. They saw it on the news. They read it on ESPN. Doesn't matter where. And they read something about somebody and they go, what a piece of shit. Awful human being. That guy's an asshole. That person sucks. They shouldn't be around, etc. I am just as guilty of this as anybody. However, the problem that brings up is that it's becoming too easy for men to point blame, to mock others, when in reality, they have just as much garbage in their life as the person they're pointing the finger at. And this is no more easily explained than what we see with politics today, where you look on either side of the aisle and you go, that guy's an asshole, she's a shitty congresswoman, etc., etc. The president sucks. I can't believe that they would be associated. I can't believe that person was on their staff. Complete jackass. Unbelievable. That tells me everything I need to know about them. And I was having a conversation with a client yesterday, and he was talking to a business partner of his, and they are certainly not politically aligned. And the guy was telling my client about this article that he read, and I can't believe that the president would associate himself with this person. What a scumbag, etc., etc. And my client was like, let me ask you a question. In your entire business life, you run one of my several businesses. Have you ever been unproud of yourself, disappointed in yourself that you associated with somebody that you thought was a good guy, worked with people that you eventually at some point regretted? You've never had that happen in, 35 years of business, not once. How about, has there ever been a time where you've done something that you find a little bit regretful, that you find is, wrong, that was bad? You've never done anything like that before that you regretted, that, luckily for you, no one gets to see because you're not in the spotlight, but you've never done anything like that? And, my client's colleague, if you will, was kind of just blank for a second. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that, fellas. I think that we have some level of self-righteousness where we look at other people and we make judgments. We call them names, etc., because it makes us feel better about our own inequities. Self-righteousness is the correct way of looking at it. We think that we're so much better than all these people. And so when we point it out, we end up feeling better about ourselves. I would never screw somebody over like that. I would never lie to somebody like that. Oh, that is below me. I could never do something like that if I was in that situation. And that's just a crock of shit, because all of us, every one of you listening to this, have made regrettable, bad decisions, or you have associated with people that ended up not being great. Maybe in the beginning, it was all good and hunky-dory and, oh, you know what? This guy's a good guy and we can work together and this is going to be great. Maybe you were dating someone. Oh, you know what? She seems like a really good girl. Maybe there's some stuff going on in her past, but I think she's really a good human. Like, I think it's good. And in the end, guess what? It all gets screwed up. They screw you over. They mess with you, whatever. And so you made a mistake in associating with that person. Hopefully you learned from it. But then the other side of that is you making bad decisions of your own volition. You lied about something to get ahead in business. You were unbecoming of a good man in a prior relationship. You've done something that you are not proud of, and you would like it if the world didn't really know about it. That is a problem when you start pointing the finger at other people and not looking in the mirror and going, you know what? I am just as tainted as these people that I'm pointing the finger at. It is becoming too easy for us, specifically as men, to get caught up in this point the finger blame game. I've talked about that on here a little bit more recently, but I think it's coming too much to a head. And I think all of us listening to this need to nip it immediately, because it's fun for us to point at other people, call them shitheads, tell them that they're useless, wish that they weren't around, that guy's a jackass, etc. However, imagine that you were in their position. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people that are jackasses. They've done terrible things. Maybe they've been in politics for 1,000 years and have done absolutely nothing besides suckle the teat of taxes that we pay. Maybe that is the case. But you're telling me that you can spend all this time pointing the blame or pointing the finger at people that you've never met, when in fact, if you were to go look in the mirror and go, oh man, yeah, I got some of my own shit. I've lied to people before. I've stolen before. I've acted fake before to get my way. I've done things that are regrettable. I've harmed people so that I can get ahead in life. All of you in some capacity have done this, no matter how great you think you are. And for those of you listening who think you've never done that you're perfect in every way, shape, and form, all the best of luck to you, because life is going to be awfully difficult, because that's just not how it is. There has to be a level of ego check, and you have to find some kind of humility when it comes to how you view the world. Because yes, there are levels to how bad certain people can be and how rude people can be, but everyone on this earth has made mistakes that they wish they hadn't made. Certainly they learned from them, but those mistakes maybe harmed people, harmed themselves. And that's regrettable. Well, guess what? If you can experience that regret, so can other people. And I think we are wasting time looking at the faults of others when it is required of the heroic man to look at his own faults and fix them. That, more than anything, is all that you need to do. I love, you guys know that I like Jordan Peterson quite a lot. I agree with him wholeheartedly. Put your own home in order before you start looking at the world, because it can be so easy to sit on your self-created throne and throw stones at the world when your castle around you is burning. It just makes you feel better about the fact that your home, your life is tumbling, and it has its own weeds and it has its own holes in the wall that you haven't fixed. The turrets need to be fixed, but you know what? It's a lot easier to look at the other guy's castle and say, ha ha, look at him. All of his screw ups have led to that place burning down. Meanwhile, right behind you, yours is doing the same thing, and you just turned a blind eye to it, because that is easier than addressing the problems in your own life. I don't mean to be heated with all of you this morning, but this goes to me as well. I fall into this boat. I get too caught up in all of the other dumb shit that happens in the world, and it impacts my life far too much. It's not necessary. Get your own home in order. When you have that feeling, that inkling that you need to disparage somebody else, even if it may feel well-deserved, remember for a moment that you have probably done recently something regrettable. that you are pointing out in that other person. And I think that all of us as men need to start moving to a place where we can call out bullshit, certainly, especially when it starts impacting our family. However, you need to be taking care of your own bullshit at the same time. We've made it where we can't do both things. And realistically, until you've started taking care of your own shit, it's probably a smart idea not to be talking about other people's, because that's taking time away from the stuff that you need to be fixing so that you can be a better man and impact the next generation and the next generation, so that we have less just shit ass people that exist in the world. I'm using the word shit a lot today. You guys understand my point. It is beyond important that you start putting your own homes in order, not pointing the blame or pointing fingers at all these other people, and making that a bigger priority of your life. Social media has made that very easy today. We have this constant scrolling, and you can look at, oh, look at this asshole, look at this asshole, look at this asshole. And that just the algorithm just pulls it all together for you. And you can just have an entire couple hours of you pointing at people saying, what an idiot. I can't believe they would do that. That's crazy. Well, meanwhile, you just lost 2 hours of becoming a better man. In fact, you've made yourself a worse man, because you have some level of self-righteousness that continues to rise. And that's below the heroic man. We are not called to be that kind of man. And so clearly, my message to all of you today is that before you start pointing the finger and disparaging other men, and specifically people you've never met, start thinking to yourself, if the world knew all of the travesties I've committed, what would they say about me? Would I have people that are pointing and saying, that guy's a jerk? What an asshole. I can't believe they would do that. Because they would certainly do that to me. If people knew all of my skeletons that are in the closet of what's happened in my life, they'd go, man, that guy's a jackass. I can't believe he would do that. And you know what? They'd probably be right. Because I have made bad decisions. I've not been a good man my entire life. Unfortunately, we are born with a proclivity to sin and to do bad things. And guess what? I've done them. And if the whole world knew everything about my life, they'd go, I can't believe that guy. What a jerk. And guess what? That applies to every single human in the world. That is why we have things like humility. That is why we have things like grace and mercy, because all of us have fallen short. And if all we do is point out other people's faults, that's really just a reflection of us not willing to address our own faults. Yes, we need to call out bad things that are happening in the world and things that are below heroic men. No doubt about it. But we're spending far too much time trying to focus on other people's faults than trying to correct our own that still exist, and we still have to fight. I want you guys to think on that today, focus on that today. I need to focus on that more today. Whew. All right. I'm going to leave it at that. I love you. God bless you all, boys. Be strong. Let's get after it today. Big Thursday. Let's get some. See you, boys.